could Putin have a net worth of $200 billion with a salary of $140,000? Countless yachts, cars, jets, and mansions are presumably owned by Putin, and this is where they all come from. Don't swipe or click away, because here is how rich Putin really is. Forbes themselves have said that Putin's wealth sources are the mysteries. Figuring out Putin's net worth is probably the most elusive riddle in wealth hunting, they stated in a recent video uploaded on their official YouTube channel. First of all, we need to tell you that Russia ranks 136th on the list of 180 countries for corruption. The country's score is 29 out of 100. So, needless to say, we're dealing with a pretty corrupt government. Putin's political party, United Russia, controls 325 seats in the State Duma out of 450 total seats. The second largest party to oppose him is the Communist Party, with only 57 seats, which could barely be considered opposition. On top of all of this, he was president from 2000 until 2008 and served 2 terms. The Constitution didn't allow him to be president for more than 2 terms. So, in the next 4 years, while his current Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev was president, they changed the Constitution, and now Putin can remain in the office indefinitely. He is currently serving his 5th term. But wait a second, we have to give credit where credit is due. President Putin's net worth is in the public domain. We know that his salary fluctuates from $100,000 to $190,000 year to year, and the president has even stated that he never sees the money. All of it goes directly into his bank account, and what happens with it from there? He couldn't care less. In addition to the relatively small salary, he also owns 800 square foot apartment, 3 cars, and another 1,500 square foot apartment, which he doesn't actually own, but uses for private needs. Maybe it's close to work, so he has probably decided to rent it. We don't know. What we do know is that this fits perfectly in with the narrative that he's been telling the Russian people. With a tight hold on Russian media, Putin is regarded as the poor boy, who was so in love with his country that he decided to smash that like button, just like you should if you haven't done so already. But no, in all seriousness, he decided to dedicate his entire life to best serve the people. He has risen through the ranks of the KGB as a former spy, but not out of some desire for power, but because of his indomitable desire to best serve the country and its people. Certainly, he has managed to do this up until this point. He has remained humble. He has generally stayed out of the public eye as much as possible, and he has been able to lead the country from the seemingly inescapable grip of communism and turned Russia into a prosperous democracy. The prize for all of this hard work? Every year, he would get $140,000 wired to his account. But something doesn't add up. If he is as benevolent as he likes the Russian people to believe, what's with the corruption perception index? Why is it so low? Well, Putin doesn't have an answer for that. If he is as benevolent as he claims, why isn't Russia exactly like the Scandinavian countries? They have some of the highest CPI scores of all democracies in the world. Surely, a man that's devoted his life to ruling such a vast country could have managed to cure at least some of the corruption. Well, what if corruption is the primary driving force for your wealth? Would you seek to remove it in that case? Well, if we look back to 2012, we will have to point out Stanislav Belkovsky. The man is a Russian political analyst. During an interview with Forbes, he noted that Vladimir Putin has an estimated net worth of around $70 billion. Since then, the rumors continued to spread. Strangely enough, Celebrity Net Worth listed Putin as having $70 billion in assets. And Forbes, the official wealth magazine of all the richest people in the world, claims that Putin is the most powerful person in the world. But they refuse to give an official number of the size of Putin's wealth. And this might be for good reason. In 2002, Mikhail Khodorkovsky was featured in a Forbes Russia article. He was the head of a major oil-producing company at the time, which was responsible for 17% of the oil production in the country, and they considered him a major player and friend of Putin's. Then, just 1 year later, he was convicted of tax evasion and was thrown in prison. He denies the crime, but was sentenced anyway. His company broke up, his assets were all frozen, and the main reason behind this was believed to be the new president, Vladimir. However, this was nothing but a lesson. All he had to do was make an example of one of those oligarchs. As soon as the other guys just saw what Putin was capable of doing, they would be very careful not to anger the new president. In due time, they all became obedient soldiers of the Tsarist regime. So where did Mikhail's money go? Well, if we're to believe Bill Bowder, the CEO of Hermitage Capital Management, then Putin took it all. In an interview in 2018, Bill Bowder cried out a specific number. He said Putin was worth $200 billion, making him the richest man in the world at the time. Why would we believe some unknown CEO? Well, it's because his firm, Hermitage Capital Management, was the largest portfolio investor in Russia. So he knows these things better than anyone else. So how did he come up with the figure? Simple. He took the wealth of all the billionaires in Russia and he divided it by 2. Why? Because according to Bowder, Putin has made a deal with all of the billionaires. Either they give him 50% of all of their earnings, or they follow the example of Mikhail Khodorkovsky. In return, he would give them access to government deals for oil, gas, and natural resources that would otherwise be unreachable without him. Apparently, this is all just part of the game, and a move like this turned Russia into an oligarchy. However, some claim none of this is true. They say Putin has a lot of friends in Russia. All of those millionaires and billionaires are happy to give Putin part of their wealth. They like doing favors for the man. Like, for example, when Putin was seen sporting the Patek Philippe Perpetual Calendar wristwatch, worth an astonishing $60,000. That seems a bit outrageous for a salary of only $100,000. Don't you think? The defenders of Putin would claim that this watch could be owned by the state, and he is just borrowing it. Wonder what the Russian government would be doing with French jewelry. But okay, apparently his collection is worth between $500,000 and $700,000. And don't even get us started on the Black Sea mansion, which Putin visited on several occasions. It's said that the mansion is worth $1 billion. It has a casino and a nightclub, and it needs a crew of 40 people to keep it clean and functional. Of course, all of this is part of Putin's so-called unofficial wealth. But even if people wanted to, they couldn't find his official wealth. If our sources are correct, then he is taking between $10 and $15 billion out of Gazprom every year, along with the other oligarchs. And that doesn't even include the other countries. On top of that, all of that money goes to either Cyprus, the British Virgin Islands, the Cayman Islands of Wilmington. And even if they knew where the money went, it's believed Putin has weaved a complex net of accomplices whose names appear on the bank accounts instead of Putin's. He's a master at hiding things because, after all, this is a man who has 2 daughters that we know nothing about. On a related note, do you think Putin is the richest person in the world and no one knows it? You can tell us in the comment section below. If you like more videos like these, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss any of them. And as always, thanks for watching, guys.